Picture this. It's a nice day, and you and your friend are going to the theater. The two of you want to see a movie. So when you finally meet your selection of all the newest motion pictures, your friend comes across something in particular. Something that catches their eye and makes them say, "Hey, let's see this one." It's 2023's Evil Dead Rise. But that's not what we'll be talking about today. No, today we'll be talking about horror in a much broader sense. Horror has existed and scared many for decades, whether that be through literature or cinema. And over the years, it continues to grow more elaborate and artistic. Which brings me to today's topic. What is horror in cinema? And what makes it so fascinating? How many of you like scary movies, or just movies in general? Raise your hand if you've seen a movie or a TV show recently. That's a joke, I can't see you. Anyways, during this video, we'll be asking ourselves the following questions that delineate the importance of horror and best mark out the major pillars of its impact. First, what role did cultural and historical events such as wars and social movements play in shaping the themes, motives, and reception of horror films over time? Next, what psychological and sociological factors contribute to the fascination and appeal of horror films? And how have filmmakers harnessed these elements? Also, we want to know what role independent and underground horror cinema play in challenging mainstream influence. Horror itself is a unique genre of film that sets itself apart from its common positive counterparts.
Thank you, Spider-Man!
Motion pictures themselves have existed for over a century, spanning back to the late 1800s, when the very first recorded instance of a motion picture was created, The Horse of Motion, made in 1878. Though trifling, this opened the door for many to express their creativity for years to come. A revolutionary successor to literary content. Now, film has evidently evolved, nearly indistinguishable from its ancestors, but the drive to tell a story still persists. So let's go back to the 1800s. When the horror genre emerged within the film industry, primarily credited to Georges Méliès, a French director and actor. Méliès played a significant role in pioneering the genre with his short films, notably The House of the Devil, released in 1896, and The Bewitched Inn, released in 1897. This would be the first recorded instance of dedicated horror in cinema. But over a century later, the way we presented horror changed. I'd like to note the author H.P. Lovecraft, who is known for having nearly reinvented how horror is perceived today. TED Ed, an educational video channel, made a really cool video explaining his origins. While I don't have enough time to show everything, I can tell you that Howard Phillips Lovecraft, born in 1890 in Providence, Rhode Island, admired gothic horror tales by Edgar Allan Poe and Robert Chambers during his upbringing. However, when he started writing in 1917, World War I had diminished the fear of fictional folklore due to the real horrors witnessed. So Lovecraft aimed to create a fresh new form of terror that reflected the rapid scientific advancements of his time. It was time to focus on targeting the human mind, a revolutionary trend that still holds up to this day. So what is a horror movie? Is it scary? Is it disgusting, uncomfortable, nightmarish, and eerie? Well, yes. Yeah, pretty much. Horror films have been a very unique way to tell engaging stories that take advantage of our most vulnerable human emotion: fear. According to the Harvard Business Review, one reason we are enthralled by horror is its stimulation. The anticipation of terrifying acts, the rush of fear, and even the moments of excitement and joy create a unique mental and physical experience. And horror films expertly balance these opposing emotions, activating both fear and pleasure within us. Moreover, horror films have a way of altering our biochemistry. St. Paul Concordia University released an article on the subject explaining how fright triggers the release of adrenaline, endorphins, and dopamine, flooding our bodies with heightened sensations and surging energy. It's this release of the subsequent emotional and physical response that some people find thrilling. The desire for this exhilarating experience can be attributed to an adrenaline-seeking personality, where the pleasure comes not from the fear itself, but from the release that follows the scary situation. Now introducing legendary horror writer Alfred Hitchcock, who once said that there is no terror in the bang, only the anticipation of it. This right here emphasizes the importance of engaging the audience's imagination and allowing it to fill in the gaps, as it is often the mind's own creations that invoke the most potent and lasting sense of horror. He was a renowned director known for his suspenseful films, twist endings, and a dark subject matter. He gained popularity through his distinctive directorial style and his personality, which became embedded in popular culture. But now let's talk about a vital part of horror in cinema: independent and underground horror, which play a significant role in challenging mainstream influence. These films, often made on limited budgets, have consistently delivered compelling stories and have launched successful franchises that rival major Hollywood productions. Like, look at this, we have Halloween, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and the Blair Witch Project, which demonstrate the power of resourcefulness and innovation in creating intense and influential experiences. Films like Paranormal Activity have shattered the box office expectations, proving that passion, adaptability, and a good story can compete and even outperform larger funded films. For research purposes, a friend and I sat down to watch a really great example of recent horror.
Whoa.
Can I help you?
What are you doing? What are you doing?
So if y'all want to get crazy, we can get crazy.
I think they want to get crazy, bro. No, just run now.
Hey!
It goes to show that horror nowadays isn't limited to quick scares, as we see the rising trend of tapping into more psychological factors. Independent and underground horror cinema defies the notion that big budgets are necessary for impactful storytelling, pushing boundaries and inspiring other filmmakers to tell their stories, regardless of financial constraints. One of the most recent indie films to go viral is 2023's Skinamarink, which strays away from the common ground of quality production and goes the more obscure direction. Though it is pretty unique, it doesn't fail to grab a hold of the psychology of the human brain and use our minds as the storytellers. If I had to summarize Skinamarink, it's basically where the whole movie is shot in the dark, and it looks like what you would see if you were in the dark, and that makes it kind of scary. Plus, there's a ghost. Anyways, horror will continue to evolve and accommodate new terrifying levels. Not because of a lack of creativity or originality, but because we as a society will develop new fears and psychological understandings of ourselves and each other. It looks like I'm running out of time, so thank you for watching this video essay. This project was unique and exciting because I was able to research this interesting topic, but also engage in special ways. And I must say that the best part of all this was watching some horror movies along the way. Throughout my research, I couldn't help but ask myself what new subgenres or storytelling techniques could emerge in the future, considering the current trends in horror subgenres such as psychological horror or found footage films. Also, because of the great accessibility of sharing content online, I wonder how might the spread of low-budget indie films affect the film industry? Will these new ideas reflect what we see on the big screen? We can only wait. Okay, if you are interested in learning more about the history of horror and cinema, then feel free to check out the provided sources used throughout this video. They're on your screen and they're linked below, next to my subscribe button. Wonder what that's for.